Hello everyone, this is Sudipta from Technical Potpourri and welcome to my new video. So before I start, I'd like to say everyone a very happy new year and welcome to 2025. So in today's video, I'm going to show you how you can use the startup script while configuring your virtual machine in Google Cloud Platform. So without any further delay, let's jump to a Google Cloud Console and explore this together. So let's first understand what is a startup script. So a startup script is a script which will run automatically every time a virtual machine starts up. And it's a very powerful tool which can be used for multiple purposes. For example, let's say you want to install some softwares every time a virtual machine is getting created. So you can configure that inside your startup script. For example, you want to do some system configuration, some setting some environment variables that you can do inside your startup script. Or let's say there are other services which you want to enable every time you create a virtual machine, that also you can configure. And finally, if there are any kind of updates and patches that you want to enable, for example, any security patches that you want to enable inside your virtual machine, that also you can configure inside your startup script. So on an overall basis, startup script is a very powerful tool which we normally create while configuring a virtual machine. Now, there are two ways by which you can write a startup script while configuring the virtual machine. I'm going to explain both the ways and what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages and all. So let's start with the first one. The first one is all about writing your startup script while configuring your virtual machine. So as you can see in the screen, I am already in my Google Cloud Console. So the way to do that, let me go and start my virtual machine creation. For that, from the console, I'll go to Compute Engine and VM Instances. And let's click on Create Instance. And here I'm not going to change any of this because that's not the intention of this video. I'll directly go to the networking section and allow and click on this to allow HTTP and HTTPS. And then I'll directly go to the advanced section. In the advanced section here, under advanced section, you'll find a section called automation. And under this automation, this is the place where we need to write our startup script. So for example, I'm going to write this startup script while configuring my virtual machine. And this is a very easy one, very simple startup script. What all it is doing is like doing an echo and then getting some update, installing the Apache server. And in the Apache server, there is an index.html. All I'm doing is like, putting my custom text, hello world from Technical Potpourri, and that's all. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create this virtual machine. So I'll click on this create button. It will take some time to get this virtual machine created. So what I'll do, I will come back once the virtual machine is ready. Okay, seems like my virtual machine is ready. Let's open this external IP here. And let's change it to HTTP. It is taking a little bit of time and we can always check whether our startup script are executed or not. For that, we need to go inside the virtual machine. And then under the log, you'll find the serial port one. Click on that and open in a new tab. And then here you can do a search. Like this is one. So it means my virtual machine my startup script has not yet started. Yep. This was the custom message, startup script from automation section. So it means it started running and blah, 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 blah. So now if I go back here and do a refresh, this is a custom message that I've configured inside my startup script. So as you can see, this is a powerful feature. And with this feature, you can do all sort of things like, if you want to enable a patch, if you want to install a software, if you want to do some kind of, set up environment variable, all you can do inside your startup script. And the startup script will execute every time a virtual machine is getting created. Okay, so far so good. But can you see a potential problem? The potential problem is like, let's say you are working in a big team and inside your team, there are a lot of developers. And what you want all your developers to create some sort of virtual machine. And while creating the virtual machine, you definitely need a startup. So instead of giving the startup to all of your individual developers, which can be a solution to the problem, but then developers can change the startup script and they can create their own startup script and there will be no standard being followed and all sort of best practices, standardization problem appear. So what about if we store the startup script in a single central location and every time any developer whoever will create the virtual machine refer the startup script from the central location. That way, they don't need to write their own startup script. It is one startup script that is being written and saved in a central location, and everybody is using that. So that way, it will be a very standard process. So that's the second process, how you can use a startup script to initiate your virtual machine. That's the second approach, which I'm going to show you right away. So for that, all I'm going to do, I am going to delete this. No, let's not delete that. Let's open up the terminal. Let's bring the terminal here. First, I'm going to startup.sh, and inside that, I am going to write the startup script. And this is my startup script, which I stored inside my desktop folder. Now, where I'm going to store this startup script is going to store in a central location and let it store inside a Google Cloud storage bucket. So for that, let me go here and go to cloud storage and bucket. Inside that, let me create a bucket and let's give a name as startup script bucket. Let's create. Okay, so name is given. So let's give my startup script bucket and let's confirm. So my bucket is ready. Let's upload the startup script. Startup script is also being uploaded inside the bucket. So startup script also being uploaded inside the bucket. Oh. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this startup script in my virtual machine while the virtual machine is getting created. Now to do that, we need to make sure the virtual machine is having access to the Google Cloud storage and it is being handled through service account. So I will make sure that I have a service account which can do. Let me go to my service account and I have a service account called Cloud Storage Object Viewer. This service account is very much important because this service account will give the Cloud Storage Object Viewer permission to the virtual machine. And because of this permission only, my virtual machine can go back or refer the startup script that is being uploaded inside the bucket. Okay, so let's go back to the cloud storage and bucket again. So this is the bucket and this is my startup script. Now, let's open the virtual machine creation on a separate tab and let's start creating an instance. Again, I'm not going to change anything here. Or let's give it a name as my second VM. In the networking, I'm going to allow this. In the security here, I'm going to use the service account, which is Cloud Storage Viewer Service Account, because if I don't select that, my virtual machine will not be able to refer the startup script inside the storage bucket. So this is a very important step. And then in the advanced section, all I need to do here is that I don't need to write any startup script here. Rather, what I will do is that under this metadata, I'll click on add items and under key, I'll put startup script URL. Under value, I'll go here and select this GS URL. I'll copy that, I'll put it here. And that's all I need to do. And then I'll go and click on create. And all it is doing is actually creating my second virtual machine. Again, it will take some time, so I'll come back once the virtual machine is ready. Okay, seems like my second virtual machine is ready. So let's open that. Let's change to HTTP. Okay, now let's go back to this one and open the log. And let's search for our custom message. Looks like startup script. It has started execution. Yep. So now let's come back and refresh. This is Apache page, but we have changed that to something else because our script was different, right? Our script was to add this one. So let's refresh. Yep. So that was the initial Apache homepage, but we have modified the Apache homepage with our own custom message. So these are the two ways how you can use the startup script while configuring your virtual machine. Definitely you see the advantages in the second approach where central script is being used by all the team members or all the developers while they will create their own virtual machine. And this is the normally the process that, most of the companies, most of the people follow. Okay, that's all for today. But before I go, I would like to show you one quick thing which can be very helpful. Let's say while configuring your virtual machine, if you want to use any kind of metadata, if you have used any metadata, can we access this metadata inside our startup script? Can we do that? So let's see that. So for that, let's go back to this one here, and let's copy this startup script and give it a new name as new startup.sh. Now let's open new startup.sh. So now let's delete all of them. Let's put this one, and all it is doing is basically, let's make it a little big. So let's say there is an attribute called foo, which I'll be adding while I configure the virtual machine. And what this line is doing, this line is basically reading the attribute, reading the metadata, and storing the metadata value inside this variable. And then I'm using that metadata variable inside my startup script, basically adding them in the index.html. So let's save that. Now let's go back to my cloud bucket and let's upload a new script. So the new script is being added. Now let's go back to my virtual machine and let's create my third virtual machine. So this is going to be my third VM. In the networking, I'll allow this to. In the security, I'm going to use the cloud storage, which is very important again. So this is the place where I'll configure the startup script. So first thing is the metadata. I'll click on add item, this one, and the script is basically the second one. So I'll copy this URI and put it here. In the second item, I want to use the metadata. So for the metadata I want to use is basically, where is that? It's called foo, FOO. So let's type foo, and in the value, let's put Canada. And then click on create. Intention is that startup script will read the value of foo, which is basically Canada, and add that inside the index.html through the startup script. So let's wait for a few minutes for the third VM to be ready. Looks like it's ready. Let's open that in a new tab. Nope, it's still running. So let's open that and go through the log. Yep, seems like startup script has started. It's running the startup script, blah, 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 looks good. So let's go ahead and refresh that page. It's still the Apache default page, but I think soon this page will be updated with a custom message. Yep, and as you can see, hello world from technical Potpourri accessing metadata value of foo, and this is the value that we put there in Canada. So if you see the startup script, this line is basically fetching the value of foo, storing that in metadata variable, and this is the line accessing metadata variable of foo, and this is actual value, which is basically the Canada. So this is a way how you can use a startup script while configuring your virtual machine. I hope this video is helpful. Please hit the like icon. Please share this with your friends, with your colleagues, so that they came to know about this very powerful feature. And if you like this video, please hit the like icon, subscribe to my channel, so that you will come to know about all my upcoming videos. Till then, thank you. Bye-bye.